But worry not, we are here to bring you what's happening in the country at the comfort of your home. And yes, I am Hope Nyogereza, and today on Issues at Hand, we have our dearest guest here, Miss Faridah Lule. Yes, the Executive Director of Ushahidi Foundation. Ushahidi, rather. I confused the two Swahili words. Ushahidi Foundation.
Yes.
You are welcome, Miss Faridah.
Thank you. And good morning to our viewers.
How is the weather taking you?
I think it's good because what we really experienced before, the hot weather was really hot. So for me, I'm just enjoying this weather.
The cold weather.
The cold weather. The hot weather that we went through those past months. It was hell. You know, just going home, it is the same. Weather during the day and at night, and yet you hope to have a peaceful night, and yet we used not to have peaceful nights because of the bad weather. But now at least we have some comfortable weather, even if it is cold. But at least we are sure that we're not going to have expensive food stuffs because people are now planting. But if the weather goes on, like if we have hot weather, that means that so many things are going to be affected. The prices of food and poverty will also increase. So at least we can be here even if it is cold.
We can survive in the cold weather, despite the rain that is causing a bit of hiccups here. But thank God, we are here, we are well, we are okay.
And we are well, we are okay.
Yes.
And it has not come with so many diseases. Usually when there's change of weather, you see people falling sick, a lot of diarrhea, cholera, but we are still fine. Okay. And thank God for that.
We do thank God for that. And of course, today we are discussing the anticipated election violence and of course, the alleged kidnap of opposition politicians. This is something that has been happening, as you can see, from the past few days. We have been having a few people, not a few, one political figure who has been abducted. And of course, we are going to be diving into that. But first and foremost, I would like to talk about elections. We are having the display of the National Voters Register that has been happening over very many polling stations around the country. And yesterday we saw that the 620 polling stations that had not started yesterday, the display of the National Voters Register. So what can you tell us, what insights can you give us on that regarding all that? But we've also seen that the NRM has been having a bit of hiccups here and there. We are seeing names being added to the voters register, but I want you to give us a general view of how this might possibly affect us in the 2026 general elections.
Thank you so much, and we want to thank the viewers and also thank God that we are here today, this morning. Some people are sick and some people are not well, but for us we are well and alive. That is really good. I want to bring our viewers up to speed on the issue of the update of the National Voters Register. The Electoral Commission announced that we are going to have the display that was on the 25th of March, of April. They are supposed to display the voters register on all polling stations after they had concluded. First of all, they concluded the update, where they registered new voters and updating particulars or details for the old voters. So after that exercise, they picked information. Some people wanted to transfer. Like, for example, I used to stay in Busiro. Now I'm staying in Kampala city, so that means I cannot go back and vote from Busiro. I want to vote from I can go back, but if I don't feel comfortable that now I'm in Kampala, then that means that I will have to ask for my particulars to be transferred to Kampala, such that I can vote from Kampala. So meaning that there are also many people who did those transfers because they shifted. So all those particulars that the Electoral Commission picked, even those that turned 18, they're supposed to actually, now they are displaying to make sure that what you gave us is correct. Unfortunately, what has happened is that most people who gave their particulars or their information to Electoral Commission are saying that their information did not was not captured.
Yes.
So, but what they have to know is that this is the time for you to actually check that the voters register, whether your names are also on the voters register as you wish.
Yes.
And also check out your photograph. Sometimes they might bring a name, but the photograph does not belong to that person. So when you check out those details, you actually alert, because they have different forms that you're supposed to fill. If there is a form called Clean 1, Clean 9, Clean 3, Clean 8, and all those forms refer to particular details. So some actually, for those who are dead, if you identify people who are dead, you're supposed to alert the display officer, and then they note down on that form. If your particulars did not match the photograph, you also inform the display officer to actually fill that form, and those forms, that information is given to the tribunal. There is a tribunal of 5 people. So those 5 people, 3 are supposed to be, all the 5 are supposed to come from that community.
Yes.
But 2 of them are supposed to be older persons. One has to be a female and one has to be a male.
Yes.
The older persons make up to make sure that they understand. If you go to a polling station and identify that this person died, and this person, I know this person is my relative, and then that display officer takes note. So the person to approve that is the person, that committee is called the tribunal, and it is appointed by the magistrate at that level. So what happens is that committee is supposed to verify whatever you proposes, because there is a lot of politics also, that some people would come and say, this person does not support me, especially those politicians that stand. So they will come and say, no, these people do not support me. So they will propose that in fact, this person and this person passed away. And yet, so the display officer will also note, hey, this person, because this is the time also for cleaning the register. So they will say, oh, this person has passed away. So they note. And then at the end of that day, your name is deleted. So when you come back on the voting day, and then you don't find your name on the register, you start complaining. So that is why there is a committee, it's called a tribunal, which looks into all those proposals that people have proposed. This person has shifted, is no longer in this village, this person traveled to America, this person traveled to Dubai, but all those positions, all those issues, it is the voters at that village level who know each and everyone who actually stays among them. So they make those proposals to that committee. But there is also a 10-day period. It's called period of natural justice. After the committee, even the tribunal proposing, they are supposed to return the recommendations to the returning officer. So the returning officer will actually pick and forward to the Electoral Commission, there is a department that manages the voter management information. So they will take into account all what has been proposed, and they will bring back the register for 10 days for you to actually also go back and say what I proposed, what I actually gave during the update, and then the display has actually been captured, because that is the final time the register is going to be displayed. The next time it's going to be on polling day. So meaning that this time is very, very critical. And the politicians, most people do not actually pay attention to this. That's why you see that even the Minister of Justice, Honorable Norbert Mao, the last time in the other election of 2016, he missed out. He did not vote because, people think that if you don't check, if you don't go for the display exercise, you sit comfortable and think my particulars were taken, and I think the Electoral Commission is a machine, they have to do whatever I have to do. There is that era of margin where they might miss out your name. So that is why they bring out this period of display, which is 21 days. Unfortunately, I don't know, the 620 will also go. They have to give them that extra time for such that the 620 villages or registers that were not displayed have to be registered for the 21 days, because the law says 21 days.
Now here we have looked at the general overview of the National Voters Register. Now, once again, I pose this question. How do you think, yesterday we saw the NRM, most of them went back to their villages, and the Yellow Book had registered names of voters. But we had there were some few issues here and there. We saw people coming out and claiming that, you know what, because this person is not being supported, he decided to scrap out some names and add some of the names that might be in his favor. How do you think that can affect us in the upcoming elections?
Usually those internal politics, internal affairs in the parties always affect the general process. But I think it's high time it has been long overdue for a party who has been in power for all those years to be having still such issues that actually can happen. By now we're happy that at least they are shifting somewhere, but at least it is unfortunate, but for the party which has been in power for over 35 years, that they can still have those issues, and it will still affect. It is going to come to, we have experienced it at the LC level, but it's also going to be worse at a time when they will be electing members of parliament or LC5. There's going to be a lot of caveat, I suspect so. Because why? There is a lot of interest in the members of parliament. So, and if at this point they have not cleaned their registers, and someone can actually grab the register and go with it, and then also add people, and also there is an election that happened, for example, when I saw at the bus taxi park, where they actually completely neglected the register and said, no, these people have no time to come and register. No, Ugandans should have to be serious. If we are supporting a party, stick to that and actually follow their timelines. That's why we shall be able to avoid the confusion. Now, how can we go for an election and it is lining up and then say, no, we can, some people are not on the register, yet there was that time for them to actually appear on the register. It is going also to happen for the general elections, that some people will come on election day and say, we actually participated, we updated we went and updated our names, our particulars, and yet they did not, because they think that it is that in Uganda everything can happen. So, and I'm just urging all Ugandans that who actually registered, and those who did not register, not to come and antagonize the process, because every time you are called upon to come and be part of the process, sometimes people neglect and then they go to their work at the time when they think they should come and participate, when it is too late. So whatever happens in NRM, it will not happen in what? In the general elections, because in the general elections it is the voters register. You are either on or out. So if you are on the register, you will vote. If you are not on the register, you will not vote. You will automatically be told to go away and disappear. There is no chance of you that they will sympathize with you, whether you had gone to Butambala, whether you had gone to Kapchora, and this time you have time. In general elections, that nonsense is not going to be there. It's not going to be there, so you are either on the register or not. And this time of the display, that chance is not there, because the chance for you to be on the register was during the update. Here we are only, the Electoral Commission is only identifying people and actually making corrections to those that missed out, or to those particulars that were not captured well, and also cleaning the register. But there is no time for you to enter on the register. The final whistle was actually after the update. And it is unfortunate that we do not have voter education. The Electoral Commission is so quiet. They are not sensitizing people, even in the display exercise. That's why people were complaining that our particulars did not come back. Now this register is fake. So they are calling upon the Electoral Commission, that blaming it. It's unfortunate that they have not done voter education, because if you do voter education, people will understand that the time we are in is now cleaning, that it is very okay for the particulars not to be like, maybe they had not picked the particulars, but it is the time. That is why this display is here. If you are sure that you went for that, you present your evidence that I came and updated my particulars, but you don't pick them. So it is upon them to actually pick your particulars, and on the other time I told you the 10 days, that is when you can really hold them accountable if they still do not pick your particulars. There, the Electoral Commission, you can even take them to court because you are sure you gave them your particulars, you participated in the process, but your name did not appear even in that period. So when you look out in that term of 10 days of national justice, and still your particulars are not there, and when you come on election day, still, because you can still complain in that time and say, still, my name has not appeared. So on election day, if you come and your name is not on the register, and yet you participated in all those processes, you can actually sue the commission. Yes.
Okay. Now, which brings us to the Kawempe North by-elections. Yes, we saw a lot of brutality happening, especially to the journalists. And not only journalists, other people were injured, normal civilians. We also saw political figures being injured in the process. And now we are seeing something different. We are seeing abductions happening. First and foremost, what is your insight on that?
First of all, viewers, it's unregrettable. When you bring back Kawempe, I was in Kawempe, full time, full swing, up to the time of announcement. And what I saw in Kawempe was really unfortunate. Some part of Kawempe, not all, the Kawempe North Division, not all, some parts were peaceful, some parts were too chaotic, like Kazangola, and then Bogo side. The unprecedented scenes in those two areas, in those two parishes, were regrettable, and I hope that security actually learns a lesson from those two parishes, and make sure that whatever happened in Kawempe does not happen in the 2026 general elections. Even what happened in 2021 general elections on November, where we saw people losing lives, the woman who lost her leg and eventually died, those were unregrettable sins. So we do not want to see such sins happen in 2026. Let us as Ugandans also experience a peaceful election where we do not see those ugly sins in the election, because it turns out people will actually, you will see that the voter turn-up goes on to reduce because of those ugly scenes. That when someone sees those ugly scenes on TV, they will really step back and say, why should I go and participate in this election? But the abductions that are happening, it's also I think government should start being serious. And when I say that, if you accepted to have multi-party politics or multi-party dispensation, we have to appreciate that this is where to go, because you cannot allow a country to have multiple parties. We should not have multi-party politics, and yet you are not allowing people to engage. Just like how NRM was conducting their LC1 elections, and so some parts were actually peaceful, most parts were peaceful, and people were just going to do what they're supposed to do. Let also other political parties do the same. If they're organizing and if they're not violent, just give them security. If those parts are actually violent, you can give them security and allow them to do their work. Abducting people is not a good thing, and it's not the way to go. That is really violating the Constitution, which everyone has the right to participate in the elections. Everyone has a right to associate. Everyone has a freedom to actually speak. So when you start abducting people, and in main key opposition areas, you're killing the opposition, you yourself who actually said, no, it is okay, and I'll give you space, I'll also give you money to actually do your work. But when you start abducting, you're killing the institutions yourself.
And how do you think Ugandans will perceive this, especially now that you're heading into a very critical time?
Yes, they will see that you are not creating space for a free and fair elections. We need a level playing field for all. And they will still question that, no, it is still the same, where the opposition is not actually allowed to campaign. The opposition will not be allowed to solicit for votes, and still they will be abducted, and still they will be violent. There will be violence. So I think the government still has an upper hand to make sure that these ugly scenes are not actually captured and they do not happen. So when you start abducting people, the morale goes down for people who have hope in elections. People who think that something, maybe this is the only time, and during election, this is the only time every Ugandan is able to participate, to give their voice, because in most cases, it is the MPs that decide for them, they carry their voices, but during election time, this is the time when every Ugandan who feels that I want to say something, you can use an election as a tool. But if you suffocate that, then it means that someone will end up actually staying away in all services that actually government offers, because they think that there is no space, that their voices will not matter, and their vote does not count.
Yes. Now, going back to the Kawempe North by-election, don't you think... We have been able to see what happened in the Kawempe North by-election, and we are hoping for a peaceful election come 2026. But don't you think this might be a reflection of what is to come?
Exactly, that is how people think, and until government comes up and indicate to us that we will have a peaceful election. That is what is on everyone's mind, and it was a take, because when you look at, we had several meetings with both the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission had several meetings with security, and also security, they also invited so many stakeholders in the first meeting, and people aired out their views and their fears. And still, when we went into the nomination, you saw the same thing happen. And when we went into the campaigns, it was worse, where people were actually beaten, and it was worse when it started, when it dwelled on the journalists. So we did not expect the journalists to be beaten up to that extent. And we do not expect people because there was a lot of security, heavy deployment in Kawempe. So someone questions the credibility of the process and how the assurance that we got from security and the assurance that we got from Electoral Commission that it's going to be a peaceful election. It was not a peaceful election because of those ugly scenarios that happened in Kazoangola, in Mbogo. Someone says one tomato spoils the rest of the tomatoes in the basket. So only those few incidents will actually tantamount to a violent election in Kawempe. And security did not give us that assurance. They gave us that assurance, but they did not live up to that the assurance that they gave us, the statements that they issued, even in the meetings, the stakeholders meeting, even during the harmonization of campaign, the timetable, we got assurance from all the security apparatus that, the election is going to be peaceful and we are in control. The police said these are our numbers. Everyone was reading, the DPC, the OC, and everyone was reading their numbers. Please call us, let us know. Even the questions of the press was addressed at that time, that if you come dressed well in a press jacket, you are identified with your tag and everything, it's going to be okay. On election day, on polling day in Kawempe, they were actually targeting those who were putting on the press jackets. So now you keep wondering why were they giving us that assurance? So I think they really have to go back on the drawing board as security and come clean, because their name keeps on coming in an election. So this time around, I think they should give us an assurance that we are going to have a peaceful election. It's not all about Electoral Commission, no. It's all about security, how security handles the issues, how security handles matters. It's what brings violence, and it gives way to these people, the goons also, who are actually there for their own motives, to actually come and also do their dirty work. So to provoke the security, and if the security does not actually be on alert, those goons can actually take advantage. Still in Kawempe North, where we saw some goons actually kicking ballot boxes. That is really a crime. And we had heavily deployed area of Kawempe, but still people were, and security was just looking on when people were actually kicking the ballot materials, the electoral materials.
And what are the implications for that? What should have been done for such people who are doing such practices?
They should have arrested those people and hold them accountable. They should be in prison right now because it is a crime to actually tamper with an electoral material. It is a crime. So with the heavy deployment in Kazo, because I was there, there was a lot of security, there was a lot of police and UPDF. I cannot see someone coming and beginning to kick around the ballot papers, and then you tell me that with that human resource that you had on ground, you could not actually arrest those people. And also, even at Mbogo, we had a lot of security presence, but people came, and actually 2 people came and kicked the ballot boxes. Wow. And yet we had security around. You cannot tell me it was a gazetted place whereby they could do anything to arrest those 2 people that actually kicked the ballot papers at Mbogo. So, and I think the Electoral Commission should also look into this and see how to protect the polling materials.
Okay, well, we are going for a short commercial break, but please do stay tuned because we are having a very hot topic right here that you'll definitely want to get into. But right now, let us see what we have in our short break. We'll be right back.
Issues at hand. Issues at hand.
Yes, welcome back. I'm here with Ms. Faridah Lule, and we are discussing the anticipated election violence and, of course, the alleged abductions that have been happening over the past few days. And just to dive into, I'm going to take you back a bit further. We saw that the Chiza Besigye being detained, and he is still detained up to now. What are the legal implications for detaining a civilian in a military court?
I think the Supreme Court made a ruling which everyone actually has read, and they have to know that it is wrong. And before the amendments, these amendments that Parliament is trying to do in the UPDF Act,
Yes.
they cannot actually try him in the military court. So that's why he was brought to a civilian court. But still, he has the right to bail.
Yes.
Every Ugandan has a right to bail. Whether you have committed which crime, whether you have, until you are proved guilty, that is when you can actually stay in prison for all that time. But for his case, I'm finding it hard to understand why the court is not granting him bail, despite the fact that they have done all the formalities and they have presented, and even his health
Yes.
is actually it's key, because you cannot try someone who is not well.
Yes.
But what if he dies? So what will be the implication? What would you achieve? Just like Sejerinya, now that he actually died by even when they had not actually concluded his case.
Yes.
So you have to, when someone mentions something that the person that you are holding in custody is not well, that alone is that guarantees his right to bail. He's supposed to go and see his doctors, and they are supposed to give him bail. So if this person you have all the apparatus to actually make sure that this guy does not escape from the country. So this they have actually retained him
Yes.
in courts, and they have denied him the right to bail. He is supposed to get bail, and someone will actually connect it to the new political party that he's actually he has created. Maybe they fear that maybe the new political party that he's leading, the PPEF, would actually be a threat to maybe the ruling party. That's why they're holding him in prison, such that it does not gain momentum. But I think what the laws, the courts should do their work and release him on bail, and then until he's proved the DPP presents the evidence that is required, and then he can be prosecuted. But you cannot hold someone and you deny him the right to bail. Even these other people that have actually been in prison, there are so many other people that have been abducted, that have been arrested, that have not been presented in court.
Yes.
We are so lucky that Eddie Mutwe was actually presented, because there was a lot of pressure from everyone, from the church, from the Katikiro, from Ugandans, everyone.
Yes.
But you saw, even when he was presented, that is not a way to go. You have no right to torture someone until that person, the court proves that this person is guilty, and then that person can serve his sentence, or he can serve his punishment. But when you bring someone leaping in court like the way they brought Eddie Mutwe, it is unfortunate. And it's common practice that in most cases, I see police, when they're arresting people, they start beating someone. Is it you, police, that is actually accusing this person? Maybe the community has said this person is antagonizing, there is land issues, land struggle, and then you arrest someone, you start beating. You have no right to actually beat someone, to punish someone. You are supposed to arrest this person, take this person into custody, present this person to court, and then he goes to prison. But you see someone is coming out of police, and the person is in bad shape. That is really wrong. It is not right.
Yes.
You have no right whatsoever, because who are you? Why are you punishing this person? It is not you who is actually accusing this person. It is maybe government. Are you government? Are you government? You're not government. Why are you choosing this person? Why are you beating this person? Are you beating this person on behalf of government? Has government asked you to beat this person? So even when they presented Besigye, really he was in bad shape. He was really in bad shape, and you could look at him. You are not supposed to make sure that you are. In fact, prison has to present this person. This person is in good health. They have taken care of this person. Is looking good, and then you leave this person to actually exercise his sentence or his his days in remand.
Yes.
Exactly.
And how do you think we have seen all these events occurring, the detaining of Chiza Besigye, Dr. Chiza Besigye, we have seen the abduction of Eddie Motoi, and of course this shows a certain picture as Uganda to the global, spec. So how do you think, what does it portray as a country in the global, standing?
First of all, one aspect that is affected immediately is tourism. And yet tourism brings in a lot of income to the community, to the country. So when people see these bad pictures, because they go viral, once people capture those events, they go viral and everyone sees what is happening in Uganda. So whoever wanted to come and invest in Uganda will say, I cannot invest in such environment. And meaning that the people I'm going my customers are not safe, or my customers will not be able to take my goods, because how am I going to participate how am I going to invest in such a country that is not stable, that treats its people like animals?
Yes.
So meaning that the investors, you're also scaring away investors. Then you'll be there shouting, please, we need investors to the country, please, we need investors, come. Because when the investors come, they are going to create employment. And yet you have the problem of unemployment.
Yes.
You as a government, you cannot employ 100% of your citizens. So you need investors. If you need investors, meaning that they are going to create jobs for people, and people will be busy at work. You're not going to have people roaming around on the street, because you have people, actually the large number, the bigger percentage is at work doing, being employed. But when you bring such scenarios, these investors also shy away. And then the tourists who are coming to bring in income for you, because you cannot sustain your budget, meaning that you are also scaring these tourists away. Even the people who mean well for Uganda, who have been actually speaking about the peace, maybe the freedom in Uganda, will start changing their language and say this country is a violent country, and these are the ugly things that are happening. There's no freedom of speech, there's no freedom of expression, there's no right to bail.
Yes.
So you are sending a right picture and a wrong image to the rest of the world.
Okay, and how do these actions align with Uganda's commitments to international human rights?
Uganda is a signatory to so many international instruments, the UCCPR, the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the one for elections, but when you look into those instruments, I don't know why we even signed those instruments. Because when we go wrong, when a country goes wrong, when the country does not live up to their expectations, I see the international community keep quiet. So, a lot has gone on in election period. And I have never seen the African Union or the UN coming out to say, now, Uganda, you have gone overboard.
Yeah.
Yet you actually signed the instrument, the international instrument on people and human rights, on the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. You signed all this, but still we are experiencing violation of human rights in your country. You see us struggling to actually go in courts, and also maybe thinking that you are going to get justice in the courts, and also the victims also run to Uganda Human Rights Commission, which will also just back and say, we are going to investigate that issue. We are not seeing the impact of signing these treaties as citizens. Maybe the government can see the realization and see the implication, but as citizens, we need to feel as to why our government signed the instruments, the international instruments, the regional instruments, the country the one of East African Community, and also the African Union, and also the international one. We only see government officials going to the UN to express, to give their view, to give their report, but we are not seeing those big communities on ground to assess really what was the agenda for you to sign these instruments.
And how do you think the country can employ advocating for political freedoms and human rights?
I think it's both. If someone will not give you, like those in government will not feel your pain. So it is us Ugandans to continue advocating for the freedom that we want, because for them, they think it is okay. Those in power think that it is okay. What they're giving you is okay. For example, I can give you a quarter of rice, and I think you are going to get satisfied. But in reality, you are hungry. You will not even get satisfied. So you know how your stomach can take and how much it can take. So meaning that we have to continue advocating for our freedom, such that we can exercise other rights. If you don't have freedom, you will not be able to exercise other rights. Exactly.
And then how can, because we have seen a lot of intimidation. We were talking here, and there's a lot of intimidation in the Kawempe North by-elections. Some people even now fear to vote because of what happened. How do you think that will affect us, and how do you think as Ugandans can counter that and be able to exercise our rights as the citizens of Uganda?
As we speak now, I want to take our viewers back into 2016. The voter turn-up in 2016 was totally different from the one of 2021. The one of 2021 was a little bit down. The one of 2016 was 62, and the one of 2021 was around 57, meaning that if the sins in 2016 were not as bad as the one in 2021, so the sins in 2021 affected the voter turn-up. Why? Because people were intimidated. People thought that that security security will actually come for them if they vote otherwise. Because the people who were affected were just common people, and those are the common people who actually go to vote. You see, these people in offices do not vote. These people who will know that no one can intimidate me, and I will actually, even if I want to vote for Besigye, if I want to vote for General Museveni, no one will intimidate me. You understand and believe that I can navigate and make sure that I exercise my right to vote. But the people in the villages, in the rural communities, if they see such scenarios, if they see that there is a lot of heavy deployment, trust me, they will not actually do what? They will not come out to vote. And at the end of that day, you have spent a lot of money in printing ballot papers. When it comes to Kawempe, from the time when you are entering Kawempe North, there was a lot of heavy deployment. So especially the women feared. At some polling station, you could see that the turn-up by around midday, you could see that the turn-up is around 200 or 150 voters. But when you ask, of the 150, how many people have voted, how many women have turned up to vote, they will tell you, it is only 10, some polling stations, 20. It was between 10, 20, and 30. Yeah. The rest were youth, meaning that these women were intimidated by the presence of security in the area. So what other, maybe you can give other reasons, that maybe they weren't up very early in the morning to go and work in the markets, and also they went to work. But still, just look at the NRM LC1 elections. Everyone is in presence because there is no security, there is no intimidation. There is despite the fact they have their irregularities, but there is good turn-up. There is good turn-up. There is some positivity. You'll see that people have turned up. They have responded to the call. Why? Because they see there is a lot of what? Peace. There is a lot of there is no security, and someone will come and exercise what their right, and they express what they feel freely. So if that environment was created for Kawempe North, we would see some good voter turnout for that election. Someone would say, let me just come and vote. In fact, at one polling station at UCTU, I visited that polling station. There's a lady who said, I am going to vote first. Whether the lady came and waited, despite the delay in the machines responding, the lady came and cast her vote, and then she went to work. Meaning that there are some people who could actually brave that and say, let me go and cast my vote. But there are people who actually feared. Because Kawempe North has a total number of voters, 199, 34 voters. That means that is a good number, which is not even in other parts of the country. They have a very high population. So you cannot tell me on the 199, 34 voters, only 27, 28 people voted. So the rest of the voters did not turn out to vote.
Wow, that's quite a number. So how do you think the key stakeholders can mitigate this and ensure that there's a violence-free election in 2026, including the security forces? Of course, the Electoral Commission is also involved, political parties, and just Ugandans at large.
Yes, everyone has a role to play in the election. Ugandans, as citizens, as voters, the civil society, to educate, to help, to support government initiatives, to sensitize people that this is what is supposed to be done. Political parties also sensitizing, not coming out to solicit funds or to fight for votes. You're supposed also to make sure that your team or your supporters are not violent. They know what to do. They are following them. Just advise them, just sensitize them what they're supposed to do. Because for you, when you come up as a leader, you know what is supposed to be done. You do not expect, if they say we are not going to allow processions in the campaigns, tell your voters, don't lead them into that.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, they are going to collide with police or security. And it is you, they are following you.
Yeah.
What you are saying is what they will do. So if you know that on the start, they have said no processions, please don't lead them into those acts where they are going to conflict with security. Go direct to the venue and let everyone find you at the venue. So once they say it is processions are okay, because in 2016, in 2021, because of COVID, in 2019, they actually banned. The processions were banned. But right now, the Electoral Commission has not come up to tell us the guidelines for the 2026 elections. So once they come up with the guidelines that are going to guide us into the 2026 elections,
yes,
please, whether you do what, those are the guidelines that the Electoral Commission has set out. So just make sure that we follow those guidelines, and then we have a peaceful election. If you have any query, you have to go and ask the Electoral Commission and complain. And then they will look into that issue in the boardroom. They'll look into that issue, and then they will come up and maybe adjust. But when you bring the community or the voters or the supporters into misleading events, that means that most of them will end up in prison, and it will be hard for you to pick them in prison.
Yes.
So you will pick some will be fortunate that their relatives will pick them from prison, but some will rot in prison. So to avoid that, let us follow the law. And it's not only the candidates and then the political parties, also security, because we are seeing security violating the law.
Yeah.
When, for example, when they actually beat up Nalukola when he was coming from nominations, this is a candidate that has been nominated by the commission. So you cannot handle such a candidate. This is a leader of a community. You cannot handle him like a chicken thief. So security also was wrong on that front. So, and we also blame the commission. The Electoral Commission should do heavy sensitization and voter education. Up to now, we are seeing no voter education that is happening. That's why you are seeing everyone is doing this. You are supposed, at each and every activity, apart from announcing that we are going to have the display, we are going to have campaigns, you are supposed to go on TV and radio, utilize these media spaces and make sure that you do what? You sensitize, you do vote education, thorough vote education for everyone to understand, such that we avoid chaos in elections. Everyone wants to experience a peaceful election.
Yes.
So when you go, you know that in the morning I am going to, like how it is done in the development world, in America, in Sweden, in Ghana. You know, you cannot experience these chaotic scenes in Ghana, in South Africa, in Zambia. You know, people go and actually cast their vote peacefully. And then some return home, some continue to their work. That is what it's supposed to do. It's not like a do or die. Like people have to die, we have to shed blood for us to have leaders in parliament. What is the purpose of having leaders when people have died?
Yes.
What if the half of the population dies? Who are you going to lead? So we need to make sure that we have a peaceful space where everyone is accommodated. If it is time for election, that's why we have elections, and we are competing, and let all competing candidates be given space to compete and also to look for votes. It's like going to the market, and this one is selling tomatoes, this one is selling tomatoes, this one is selling tomatoes. They're all targeting customers.
Yeah.
So how you sell your tomatoes, it is up to you.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, when you go back home and you with few notes in your pocket, that means that you didn't perform well.
Yeah.
So you leave everyone to exercise, to look for votes and give that space. For you as government, you're supposed to provide that space.
Yes.
And you see in so many, especially even the field is not leveled, because you'd see RDCs getting involved, supporting the NRM candidates, yet you are civil servants. You would see government vehicles in everywhere supporting the NRM candidates. Someone is a minister, but is still using his campaigning, but is going for those campaigns. The person is using the government vehicle, is using government fuel. Really, you want, on top of that, you are using the government vehicle, you are using even government employed people to be in your car. You are using our fuel, and you are using our salary that we are giving you to also campaign. At the end of the day, you are suffocating the person you are competing with. That is really not fair.
Yes.
It's really not fair. So if you are using our property, if you are using our services, then leave this person. Give this person space to actually do what? To compete with you, with the little minimal resources this person has. Maybe he has his brain, his good ideas that he's going to bring on board that he will sell. And you who has come with a lot of funding and a lot of security, you do not have what? Ideas.
Okay. Then a lot of stakeholders have mentioned how there shouldn't be so much heavy deployment, especially of the army, in the upcoming 2026 general elections. What are your insights on that? What is your take on that?
Let me get it.
There's some people have come out to different stakeholders. They have come out to say, you know what, the heavy deployment of the army is really making people fear. And of course, we saw what happened in the Kawempe North by-election. And they went on ahead to say, please, don't deploy such heavy. Do not put such heavy deployment of the army in the come 2026. What is your take on that?
With the experience that I have in elections and what I have seen and what I have read, the security will still do the same. The security will still do the same. They will still do heavy deployment, and we shall see a lot of security on streets. Unless this time around we see a miracle happening, which I don't see because of that high tensions. We shall still see security on the streets of Kampala, on the streets of Mbarara, on the streets of Kapchora, on the streets of Jinja. We will see heavy deployment.
What do you think the security forces can do just to make sure that it's comfortable? They make the people comfortable enough to even to take the step and go and vote?
I don't think you need members in elections. Why would you bring those heavy machines that actually are supposed to go in a war, that you are supposed to use when you are going for a war, and you bring them in an election? Does it mean that the police that we have does not have the capacity to handle, to manage these petty offenses? Because you know that we are going in for an election. Why can't you have a better police, a well-equipped and well-trained police? If you are in security, you can detect that, there's going to be violence here. There is going